Imagine this. Someone enters your life, and suddenly everything feels like a dream. They compliment you constantly, text you at all hours, give gifts that feel almost too perfect, and you feel like the universe itself has finally noticed you. It feels magical, irresistible, all-consuming. But here's the terrifying truth. What you're experiencing isn't love. It's love bombing, a psychological weapon disguised as affection. And if you don't recognize it, it can silently dismantle your mental health, leaving you questioning reality, your worth, and even your sanity. Love bombing is not about romance, it's about control. It's about manipulating your emotions so skillfully that you start giving more than you receive, bending your thoughts to fit someone else's narrative. It's a calculated strategy used by narcissists, toxic partners, and master manipulators to entrap you emotionally before you even realize what's happening. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how love bombing works, why it is far more dangerous than most people think, and the subtle ways it attacks your mind and emotional stability. By the end, you'll know the warning signs, the mental traps, and most importantly, how to protect yourself from falling victim. Because once you see the mechanics behind love bombing, you will no longer be fooled by charm, sweet words, or dazzling gestures. The mask will fall and you'll reclaim your power. The psychology behind love bombing. To understand why love bombing is so destructive, we first need to understand the psychology behind it. Love bombing isn't random. It is carefully engineered to exploit the most basic human needs, the desire for connection, validation, and security. At its core, love bombing is about triggering the brain's reward system. When someone showers you with praise, gifts, and attention, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical that makes you feel pleasure and excitement. It's the same chemical that floods your brain when you fall in love naturally, or even when you eat your favorite dessert. This is why, at first, love bombing feels exhilarating. It feels like being in a heightened state of euphoria. But here's the catch: unlike healthy relationships, this euphoria is artificially created and highly manipulative. The manipulator isn't responding to your needs, they are shaping your behavior to fit theirs. Every compliment, every surprise, every intense declaration of love is a calculated tactic designed to make you dependent on their approval. Psychologists compare to an intermittent reward system, similar to what casinos use to keep people gambling. You don't know when the next high will come, and your brain becomes addicted to the unpredictable bursts of affection. You start craving them, thinking you must have done something right to earn this love, when in reality, the pattern is completely controlled by the manipulator. Moreover, love bombing often exploits insecurities and past emotional wounds. Manipulators will quickly identify where you feel vulnerable and use praise or attention to create a sense of safety and intimacy. This is why victims often feel as though they've found the one or the person who truly understands them. The manipulator builds trust at a frightening pace, often overwhelming your ability to think critically. The psychological damage doesn't stop at dependency. Over time, the cycle of intense affection followed by withdrawal or subtle manipulation rewires your emotional responses. You start second-guessing your own feelings, questioning your worth, and prioritizing the manipulator's needs over your own. This is the mental erosion that makes love bombing so dangerous. By the time the charm fades, your sense of reality and emotional stability is already compromised. Understanding this psychological mechanism is crucial. Once you see the patterns, triggers, and manipulative tactics, you gain the ability to recognize them early and protect yourself before the damage escalates. The warning signs of love bombing. Spotting love bombing early can be tricky because it disguises itself as affection, kindness, and romance. But the truth is, love bombing follows predictable patterns, and recognizing these warning signs can save your mental health before it's compromised. 1. Over-the-top compliments. And flattery at first, it may feel wonderful to be constantly told how incredible, beautiful, or unique you are. But if the praise is excessive, disproportionate, or comes too early in the relationship, it's often a red flag. Real affection grows naturally. Love bombers push it aggressively to hook you emotionally before you have the chance to critically assess the relationship. 2. Intense, rapid attachment. Love bombers often declare love or deep emotional connection almost immediately. They may talk about your soul connection, destiny, or even forever within days or weeks. This is a manipulative tactic to accelerate intimacy and make you feel bonded before your brain can rationalize the situation. 3. Excessive communication and attention. If someone overwhelms you with constant texts, calls, social media messages, or gifts, it's not necessarily love, it's control. Love bombers want to occupy your mental space 24/7 so that you become emotionally dependent on them for validation, attention, and reassurance. 4. Isolation from support networks. Subtly, love bombers may attempt to distance you from friends, family, or anyone who might question their motives. They may make you feel guilty for spending time with others or suggest that only they truly understand you. This isolation strengthens their grip and makes you more vulnerable to manipulation. 5. Inconsistency and withholding. After the initial bombardment, love bombers often withdraw attention, affection, or communication without explanation. This creates anxiety and compels you to win back their love, mirroring the intermittent reward system mentioned earlier. You learn to tolerate manipulation in exchange for the temporary highs of approval. 6. Sacrificing your needs for their approval. One of the most insidious signs is when you begin putting their desires above your own, suppressing your feelings, changing your behavior, or ignoring boundaries just to maintain their favor. Love bombing isn't about mutual growth. It's about conditioning you to seek their approval at the cost of your own emotional well-being. 7. Too good to be true behavior. Finally, trust your instincts. If someone seems perfect, without flaws, or too eager to meet every emotional need, it's worth questioning their motives. Real relationships are complex and gradual. Love bombers create a fantasy of perfection to mask manipulation. Recognizing these warning signs early allows you to set boundaries, step back, and evaluate the relationship objectively. Love bombing is subtle but powerful. Once you spot the patterns, you reclaim your mental clarity and prevent the erosion of self-esteem that often follows. How love bombing destroys your mental health. Love bombing doesn't just hurt, it systematically erodes your sense of self, emotional stability, and mental health. The damage is often subtle at first, making it difficult to recognize until it's deeply ingrained. Here's how it attacks your mind and emotions. 1. Emotional dependency. The intense affection and attention in the beginning create a highly addictive emotional cycle. You begin to crave their approval, affection, and presence to feel normal. This dependency undermines your autonomy, making it harder to make decisions or assert your needs without seeking validation. Over time, you may find your emotional state entirely controlled by someone else's behavior. 2. Anxiety and hypervigilance. Once the initial bombardment shifts into manipulation or withdrawal, your brain enters a state of constant alertness. You start overanalyzing every word, action, or silence, trying to predict their next move. This hypervigilance leads to chronic stress, disrupted sleep, and a persistent sense of unease that can affect all areas of your life. 3. Confusion and self-doubt. Love bombing blurs the line between genuine affection and manipulation. You may start questioning your perceptions, memory, and intuition, wondering if you're overreacting or too sensitive. This cognitive dissonance erodes self-trust, leaving you vulnerable to further emotional exploitation. 4. Identity erosion. Manipulators often dictate what you should value, how you should behave, or who you should spend time with. In the process, your sense of identity begins to fade. You may sacrifice hobbies, friendships, or personal goals to fit the narrative the manipulator creates, leaving you disconnected from your authentic self. 5. Depression and hopelessness, the cycle of intense affection followed by withdrawal or manipulation can mimic trauma bonding, a pattern often seen in abusive relationships. Over time, this leads to feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, and despair as you feel trapped in a relationship where love seems conditional, unpredictable, and tied to control rather than care. 6. Physical symptoms of stress. Mental abuse often manifests physically. Chronic anxiety and stress from love bombing can cause headaches, stomach issues, fatigue, and even weaken your immune system. Your body absorbs the emotional turmoil, reinforcing the destructive feedback loop. 7. Difficulty trusting others. Even after escaping a love bomber, the mental scars can linger. Victims often find it hard to trust new people, fearing another cycle of manipulation. This can impact friendships, future romantic relationships, and overall emotional resilience. Love bombing doesn't leave a single, visible wound. It gradually dismantles your emotional and cognitive foundation. The longer it persists, the more challenging it becomes to untangle your emotions and reclaim your mental health. Recognizing the damage is the first step toward breaking free. How to protect yourself and heal. After love bombing, escaping love bombing is only the first step. The real challenge is rebuilding your mental and emotional health. While the damage can be deep, recovery is possible with awareness, boundaries, and consistent self-care. Here's how you can protect yourself and begin the healing process. 1. Recognize and accept what happened. The first step is acknowledgement. Understand that the intense affection you experienced was manipulation, not genuine love. Accepting this reality is empowering. It allows you to separate your self-worth from the manipulator's tactics. Remind yourself, you are not to blame for being targeted. Love bombing is about control, not your flaws. 2. Reestablish boundaries. One of the most effective ways to protect yourself is to set and enforce clear boundaries. This could mean limiting contact with the manipulator, unfollowing them on social media, or removing reminders of the relationship from your environment. Boundaries help you reclaim emotional space and prevent future cycles of manipulation. 3. Reconnect with your support network. Isolation is a key tactic in love bombing. So rebuilding connections with friends, family, or supportive communities is crucial. Share your experiences with people you trust. Their perspective can provide validation, emotional grounding, and a reminder that you are not alone. 4. Rebuild your self-identity after being manipulated. It's common to feel lost or disconnected from your authentic self. Engage in activities that align with your values and interests. Hobbies, career goals, spiritual practices, or creative outlets. Reclaiming your identity strengthens your resilience against future manipulative tactics. 5. Practice emotional self-care. Healing from love bombing requires intentional self-care. Journaling, meditation, therapy, and mindfulness practices can help you process emotions, reduce anxiety, and restore mental clarity. Pay attention to your emotional needs and treat yourself with compassion, patience, and gentleness. 6. Educate yourself about manipulation. Knowledge is power. Learn about love bombing, narcissistic manipulation, and psychological abuse. The more you understand these tactics, the easier it is to spot red flags early and avoid falling into similar traps in the future. 7. Seek professional help if needed. In some cases, the mental impact of love bombing can be profound. Therapists, psychologists, or support groups specializing in emotional abuse can provide structured guidance and coping strategies to help you regain confidence, autonomy, and emotional stability. Recovery is not linear. There will be moments of doubt, triggers, or lingering emotional pain, but every step toward awareness, boundaries. And self-care strengthens your resilience. Remember, the goal isn't just to survive, but to reclaim your life, your identity, and your mental well-being. Love bombing may seem like love at first sight, but as we've seen, it's anything but innocent. It's a calculated tactic designed to manipulate, control, and slowly erode your mental and emotional well-being. Recognizing it is your first step toward freedom, and reclaiming your power is the ultimate victory. Remember, your emotions are valid, your boundaries are sacred, and your mind deserves protection. No amount of charm, affection, or gifts justifies sacrificing your mental health. The manipulator thrives on dependency, confusion, and self-doubt, but you are stronger than their tactics. If you've experienced love bombing, take a moment to honor yourself for surviving. Healing isn't instant, but every step you take towards self-awareness, boundary setting, and emotional independence brings you closer to clarity and peace. Surround yourself with supportive people. Focus on rebuilding your identity, and never hesitate to seek professional guidance if needed. Before we close, remember this: love should feel safe, nurturing, and reciprocal. If it feels overwhelming, controlling, or designed to make you dependent, it isn't love, it's manipulation. The more you understand these dynamics, the less power they have over you. Your mind, your heart, and your life belong to you. Protect them fiercely, recognize the signs, trust your instincts, and step into the life of freedom, awareness, and emotional strength you deserve. If this video opened your eyes, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe for more insights into the hidden dynamics of human behavior.